Welcome to my blog. Today we're going to take a look at how to create this faux metal tack that looks exactly like, the metal charms that you buy. And you can make them any shape. Today we're going to be using the embosslet. The Fashionable Hearts that is brand new in the New Occasions catalog. So it's actually a very simple technique. So I'm going to put this on the side, and what you're going to need is a piece of thick cardstock. I am using, I think it's the Naturals. You can use the white Naturals, you can use, I don't think it would be a good idea to use the Whisper White because it's rolled and a little bit thinner. So any of the Naturals probably would do. And what you're going to do is, if you want to measure, I think you can cut a piece of paper 2.5 by 2.5 inches. I don't bother measuring anymore. I'll just make a sandwich and just take my scissors and cut small enough so it fits inside. We're going to be covering this whole piece of cardstock with the silver embossing powder. So even if you're tempted to leave a bigger piece of paper, I would not, because it's just a waste of embossing powder, and I don't like waste. Anyway, so for that I'm going to use a piece of scratch paper. And so in order to emboss, we're going to use a Versamark pad. Normally if I'm embossing fine lines, or if I'm stamping, I try to use the cleanest Versamark pad I have. This is probably the cleanest one I have. But because we're just going to be covering the whole surface, I tend to keep one of the not so clean ones around and use those instead. As a habit, I always wet my Versamark every time I start a project that needs embossing. Not so much for this one, but if you do again have very fine lines in your stamp and you need to emboss, you really need to make sure that your pad is well fed, put it this way. Alright, so basically you just get your pad and cover the whole surface of the cardstock with Versamark. It doesn't matter how you do it, whatever works better for you. You can see that it gets shiny. I don't know if you can tell. There you go. So sometimes it works faster and easier if you just scrub the pad onto the paper to cover the surface. We're going to be doing this about 4 or 5 times. So then you get your silver embossing powder and you cover the whole surface of your little square. Of course you can use other colors. You can use white. As a matter of fact, white is my next project. You can use gold. You can use any color. I just thought that for that card, with the white background and the cherry cobbler details, I thought that the silver would look good. Alright, so this is all you have to do. Also is try to keep track of how many layers you have. Get my gun here. So This is our first layer. Not a very good idea to be moving stuff. Again, keep in mind that we're going to be doing this 4 or 5 times, so don't worry about little imperfections because they're going to be covered. Something else I wanted to point out, if you're familiar with a different technique, you know, like with the clear embossing or the heat and stick, you know that sometimes you can just do Versamark for once and then put whatever embossing powder and then dip it in again. In this case, you can't do that. The silver embossing powder does not stay hot enough, long enough to attract or to keep a second layer stuck to it, at least in my experience. So every layer will need to be covered with Versamark. And you don't need to be exact because every time you put the heat gun on this piece, everything melts, all layers melt together. So if you have a little imperfection in one, or you've got bruised somehow by your nail or your tweezers, it's okay. It's just the last one that you have to be a little bit more careful. All right, so this is the second one. Okay, you can see it's getting a little bit more, I don't know, liquidy. It's definitely getting thicker. I used, I think on my previous experiences, 4, 5, and 6 layers. It didn't make any difference as far as cutting it. I thought that the one with the 6 layers was starting to push the embosslet. So I wouldn't go any further than 6. And you know, it depends on you. I do 5 because I don't want the charm to be bent or get out of shape. I think it has to be thick enough so to hold the shape. But if you think less than 5 is good for you, less than 5 is good for me. Okay, so that's going to be what, 3, 4? I don't know. Okay, it looks like one more and we'll be fine. So let's do that. Okay. And cover it all again. There you go. And this should probably be enough, and our last time. Okay, there you go. I think it's pretty good. It's nice and very metallic-y. So that is pretty much it. That's the hard part. So now basically, oh, one thing. If you want, like I did, to have the texture embossed, meaning that it's raised at the surface, you need to make sure that you put the side that you embossed, the silver side, down on the side that's debossed. Okay, so again, there's two sides on the embossed lid. One that's debossed, meaning that the texture is like recessed, and one that's embossed, where the texture is above sorry, the base. So what it does, it presses this side onto that side. So this side, whatever is facing this side, gets raised. That's what I want. If you want to do the opposite, you can do that too. I mean, it's up to whatever you want to achieve. So now all you have to do is go through the Big Shot. I use, you know, the normal sandwich, tab 1, cutting pad, embossed lid, cutting pad. And there you are. Yeah, first time I did it, I fret because I thought it was going to be stuck there for some reason, but it doesn't. It doesn't fall off because it's a bit thicker and liquidy, but it comes off very, very easily. So there you go. Also, first time I did it, I thought I had to run and go through the Big Shot while the embossing powder was still warm. But no, second time I tried, and I don't know what I had to do. It took me some time, and it was totally cool, and I put it through the Big Shot, and it worked fine. So no problem at all. It doesn't have to be any given temperature. So there you go. You have your little chunks. Now, to get something like this or like that, which again is the one that I put on this card. What you need to do, what I do, I mean, you can just use your little heart punch and, you know, try to eyeball it and punch it. What I like to do is I punch a little shape out of scrap paper that's thin enough, and I use a glue dot to position. This is going to be used like a guide. So I'm going to make, the first one I'm going to make is the one that I made for the card. I'll put it here so you can see it. So you just position it wherever you want it to be. It doesn't have to be in the middle. You can position wherever you want. I wanted this one to be in the middle. So then all you have to just slide it and then make sure that the white paper, the guide, aligns with the hole, and punch it. There you go. Now, if you use, like I did, a piece of paper that had been used before, and you would like to, you know, cover it, make sure it's nice, what you can do is, in this case, for example, run a piece of cardstock that's matching to your project through the Big Shot and do exactly the same thing. the difference is now all you have to do is to align those two, and actually let's be smarter. You can actually glue it already. Oops, lots of glue. And then use the hole as your guide. I don't recommend that you try to glue first and punch together, because I don't think the small punch would go through this thickness. I haven't tried, but I don't think it will. Yeah, lots of glue. Anyway, so you see what I do here. There you go. Just didn't need to use that. There. So then you have a perfectly finished on both sides. Because it dangles, you know, and depending on your project, you may be able to see behind it. If not, then you don't have to go to it. Same thing with this one. I used exactly the same guide, and that's the result you get. So now I'm off to create another card and see if I can use all of the little pieces that have been created since I started this project. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time. Bye.